Hi, my name is Lisane Basquiat. I am the founder of Shaping Freedom and the creator of this channel. Shaping Freedom is a personal growth company that's focused on teaching you how to improve the quality of the relationship that you're in with yourself so that the results around you are in alignment with the way that you truly want to live your life. My ultimate goal is to improve the quality of familial legacy from the perspective of emotional and mental health. This next conversation was an interview that I went into thinking that or expecting to have a conversation with a man who is a man of color, who is the founder of Opening Presence, a company that focuses on teaching and on meditation. And I was really excited about being able to introduce this man to my audience because I wanted you all to see a man of color meditating and connecting with nature and focused on his inner work and his inner health. What happened instead was all of that, and it wound up being an open letter to mothers everywhere about the relationship that they're in with their sons, and especially mothers of color and the relationships that we can be in with our sons, and an open letter to sons everywhere about the relationship that they're in with their mother. So I am so excited for you to see this episode. Put some comments down. Let's start a conversation about this. I want to talk about this more, and I'll come back on the other side of it. Enjoy. Hi, Aaron.
Hello, Lisane.
Happy New Year. Let's start with that.
Yeah, we made it.
We made it. Yeah, so far we're here. So I was really excited to learn about you. And I was introduced to you by Tyler, I think, from Straw Hut Media. He produces my podcast. Do they produce your podcast as well?
They don't, but I grew up with Tyler. So me and him go back. And since we've kind of like gone on our own paths and I started my own podcast, he was somebody that I reached out to be guests on other people's podcasts. So that's kind of part of the growth strategy is reaching new audiences.
Tyler knows the coolest freaking people. Anybody that Tyler puts in front of me, I'm like, oh shit, I really like this person. I want to get to know this person. I went and did some digging around on the internets to try to, I don't like to get too deep into things. I just like to get a feel, for a person ahead of time, just so I can kind of put that into my awareness and kind of wait to see what kind of questions start to bubble up for me relating to you. And so let's just go ahead and get started.
I'm interested to see what you found.
I found that you really liked lamb burgers and that you don't eat meat anymore, and that you spent some time at Lake Timothy that I'd never heard of. And so I looked it up. I'm like, that's 800 miles away from where I am.
That was lamb burgers. I could go for a lamb burger right now, actually, because I dabble in the vegetarian place, but I'm eating meat now.
Really? Yeah, that's interesting. I've been vegetarian or pescatarian for 10 years now. And last summer, during the summer of 2020, I just started to feel really, really depleted and like my body wanted something. And I walked into a butcher store close to me. And I'm like, I haven't had meat in 9 years. I need a piece of really beautiful meat, right? Something like that's going to be really gentle on my system. And I had a piece of meat, and I've done it maybe 3 or 4 times since. And,
yeah,
it feels good when I do it. And then I'm over it for a minute and, it's all good.
Yeah. I like the allowing ourselves those things without the guilt, though. Like, hold the guilt, please. Hold the guilt.
Because what is that about? I mean, it's like, do what feels good to you. Your body has wisdom, and your body will tell you what to eat when you're really listening to your body and not to the part of yourself that's telling you to eat all the other crappy things. So, Aaron, I know that meditation from what I can tell and from what I've heard, is a big part of what you do or how you support people. But I'd love to know, uh, I'd love to kind of back into that by who are you? I want to know who you are.
who I, who
I
I
know that.
am, what I am, how I serve.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I want to know. Let's start there, if that's okay with
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Well, I am a 32-year-old, 30, almost 33 next month, um, person from Carlsbad, California. You're based in
Oh,
Carlsbad, correct?
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So born and raised in Carlsbad. As you've experienced, it's pretty much an ideal place to be in the world.
It's
And I'm
beautiful.
secretly jealous of all of my friends who lived elsewhere and then landed in Carlsbad, because it like allows them to fulfill their sense of adventure, and like, and then you chose the right place, and then you get to
Mhm.
start a whole new life in a beautiful place. But different in a different sense, I grew up there, and I feel like everybody's hometown is everybody's hometown. So if you
Yeah.
grew up in Montana, you have the same relationship to your hometown, or similar relationship, where the people that you grow up with kind of keep you in a box per se, and you get familiar to the box, and you're like, since I'm going to be in this box, let me doodle on the walls, and you think that you're being really creative with the limitations you've kind of been handed, with
Mhm.
the things you've learned from your parents and societal structures and all that kind of stuff. And um, growing up, I was an athlete playing baseball, and that was kind of where I expressed myself the most, was in sports, and then also art as well. I was really quiet and shy, not having a lot of, uh, I guess, like friends or family that can like articulate these inner experiences that I was having as a young kid. I felt like, oh, nobody else is talking about these things that I'm feeling, so let me just keep them to myself. And I think
Mhm.
that's something that I uh unknowingly like just kind of kept inside for a very, 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 very long time, going through high school and college, and feeling like this sense of angst that I had to kind of like conform to these offbeat rhythm patterns of friendships and in groups and stuff. It felt like I had to like almost like act and kind of just go along to get along, and not really
Mhm.
feel heard, to what my truth is. Um, so I graduated college with a degree in like arts and technology, which is like music and video and stuff of that nature. Always kind of being multidisciplinary, just trying to figure and tinker things out. Um, and then after college, I was coming to that point. I was like 26, where it was just like I had had enough, and there was just enough compiled angst and suffering that was like coupled with just like fear of like actually stepping out and doing things, that where I finally was like, I got to move away to figure out who
Mhm.
I am. So when I was 26, in 2016, I moved to Portland, Oregon, which I am now, where I'm at now.
Mhm.
Um, uh, while I guess it's hard to like uh, sum up like a childhood with like contrasting parenting styles and stuff, but I think we'll be able to weave that in there.
Mhm.
But when I was moved up here, just before I moved up here, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. So my first 2 years here, she was struggling with breast cancer, and I would speak with her on the phone on my walks with my dog, and like it was interesting, because it was like the first time that I had broken away from the nest, like for real. Like I went to college, but it was at Cal State San Marcos, like right over the hill
Mhm.
from Carlsbad. So it wasn't like I went anywhere, but this was
Right.
like my first time really going out into the world. And my mom was having a tough time battling cancer, and um, fought like brilliantly, and we lost her in 2017. My brother Ryan and I, who lives in San Diego still.
I'm
And
sorry.
yeah, thank you. And that was like that was the initiation. That was like the spark for me to really hit rock bottom, because her whole existence was in service to me, regardless if that was like the intention was there, but maybe like the methods of attachment kind of didn't work in the ways that she had wanted them. Like I hadn't really had to do anything on my own, like literally like my whole life. She was always
Mm,
like my safety blanket, and I never knew if I could actually do things in the world. Like I remember just being in school, and she would uh like I would just not finish my homework, and she would just finish my homework for me. And I always knew I had her there to uh, take the baton past the finish line when I just decided I didn't want to do something anymore. So
mm,
losing her was obviously, and for a lot of people that are in like the group of people that have experienced loss, like we all know that it like knocks you to your knees, and it's like you're presented this opportunity. It's like it's clear as day. It could either go left or right. Like, do I
mm,
want to like dwell in this, or do I want to use this as motivation to move forward and to really actively like uh express the gratitude that we have for the lessons that we learned, and still continue the relationship through a new chosen path.
mm,
And that's how I landed on meditation. Was that it was a year after her passing, and I was like, I finally took that real look. I was like, yo, like life isn't changing. You're still drinking at these bars and clubs, and like you have no problem running that baton to the finish line every single night. Like,
yeah,
and
those are the hard conversations that you
yeah, I
have
was
with
like,
yourself.
what am I
Yeah.
doing right now? And I really had that, moment where I was like, all right, what am I willing to do? And I was like, oh, like meditation's always been kind of just like on the side. Like when I was 19 or 20, early 20s, I read Super Rich by Russell Simmons, who like in the middle of his book, he said like, put the book down now and go meditate. And then I was introduced to another book called Eastern Body, Western Mind a couple of years later,
Mm,
um, that talked about the chakra system. So it's always kind of the language for my internal world was like really in arm's reach. And this was like the first time where I was like, I'm going to commit to this thing and see if it actually works. And lo and behold, it does when you have consistency.
yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. You know, I lost my mother's physical presence as well, back in 2008. And it
Mm,
is a very painful, obviously, and also a very interesting journey to go on, because the loss of a person that you love, or the loss of someone that you're connected to, brings you to a new reflection to yourself. It like sticks this mirror up where you start to um, negotiate things and process the things
mm,
that have happened. So uh, I share that as well. And it's an ongoing lifetime journey, because the
mm-hmm,
person's there, their
mm-hmm.
physical presence isn't there, but they certainly are there. And it's a relationship that continues to grow,
Oh yeah.
um, throughout, as you're growing in the physical, here, you're kind of growing alongside that, your perspective of that person,
Mm-hmm,
and the ways that they related to you, and the ways that they can continue to relate to you on your journey. Um, and then I have a son, and his name is Joseph, and he's a grown ass man. And when you were telling the part of your story about the relationship that you had with your mom, it reminded me of this moment that I had with my son, where he was in his early 20s at that point, and he was like trying to figure things out, right? And he, big, bold, courageous dude, super creative. And I had a similar, he was my firstborn, and I had a similar kind of relationship with him, or a similar dynamic, where I wanted to care for him so much that in a lot of ways I took that away from him,
mm,
right? With my daughter, it's completely different. She's like, you never let me get away with shit. But with my son, it was that way. But I remember, as you were talking, I remember this moment with my son where Joseph and I were sitting in the living room at my house back in on the East Coast. And I knew he was struggling. He was kind of out, he was out of the house already, and he was struggling and, trying to, make his way. And I remember this moment that I looked at him and I said, I really want to help you, but I know that I can't. And that's really hard. And he looked at me and he said, thank you. Because what that means is that you believe in me. You
Hmm.
believe that I can do this on my
Yeah.
own. And it was like a mind fuck, because all of a sudden I was like, oh shit. Like I was doing something from the perspective of wanting my son to know that I was there for him,
Hmm.
and wanting to also infuse that feeling of, there's someone in this world for a Black man, I'm here. And what I was doing was, in some ways, taking away his power
Hmm.
versus empowering him or letting him know that I believed in him. And so it was really a course correction for me in that moment. And so I wanted to share that, both to give
Wow.
you that opposite
Yeah.
side of the conversation from a mother. And then
Hmm.
I also wanted to share it because we are talking to a large audience of people. And for those mothers and sons who are out there who are going through the same journey, because I think I think it's it happens, right? And so, sometimes when we're trying to help, what we're really doing is getting in the way of another person's growth
Hmm.
and journey and their ability to stand more firmly on their feet. So for all the moms of the dudes out there,
Back
let
up.
those back up.
Back the fuck up.
Back the fuck up. Stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Stop jumping all up into their stuff. Let them know what you need to
Yeah.
let them know, and let them grow and show you who they are.
Yeah, let them fail. Like that's the thing. It's like you can't protect your sons or daughters or children,
Yeah.
firstborns specifically. Like you
Right.
can't protect us from failing. And that's like, thank you for sharing that, because that's a conversation I never got to have with my mom. Like even like to the end, it was still just like her willing to like die on the sword. And I'm just like, no, 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 no. Like you've focused on me too much. Like you're in your
Right.
deathbed with zero energy, and you're still trying to look after me, when it's like, no, like the reason why like all of it happened was because she was never willing to put herself first. And that was
Mm-hmm.
something that I'm looking at as a lesson. I'm just like, I can't put anybody before me ever. Like
Yeah.
I can't do that, because that means it's going to be depleting me, and I'm not going to be able to show up for others in the way that I know that I can. And creating boundaries is something that like I still like have to learn, but it's something that I'm very aware of when I'm not prioritizing my energy, because I've seen what happens when we put others first, and we don't connect to ourselves in a way that's respectful.
Absolutely. It's kind of that, it's, that scripture, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I've
Hmm.
said this before, but it's like we focus so much on, or people focus so much on the love your neighbor part, right? Like the
Hmm.
way that I'm going to show and demonstrate my love for you is by taking something away from myself. And no, no,
Yeah.
no, that's not love. That's a whole different thing, right? It's the as you love yourself part.
Hmm.
Because if you focus on the relationship that you're in with yourself, and if you focus on what healthy love looks like, toward yourself,
Hmm.
then you can truly show up for another person and show them how to love you through your ability to love yourself. And I think this tendency to be overly sacrificial as a way of showing your love, um, really winds up almost being a weapon
Hmm.
versus um, versus armor for the
Hmm.
person.
Most definitely. I
because then
agree.
you're responsible for what I don't do.
Hmm.
Right. And how unfair is that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's all just like learned behaviors. It's just
Yeah,
like I'm gonna become a martyr for
exactly. That's the word.
this cause that I'm fighting for. And it's just like, we don't have to do that. And I think
Right.
that's the thing, is like looking for new solutions, and we don't have to do it like our parents did it. We don't have to do it like society tells us. And I think that's where like the practice and relationship to self kind of prevails over everything else. Cause like whenever I look out into the world and there's all these different messages and it's like, what should I believe? What should I latch onto? It's like, I don't care about none of that. Like I'm gonna refer back to myself every single time, and
Good for you.
whatever comes up for me is what I'm rolling with. And that's something that I was way too willing to negotiate and just, oh, that group of people think that, all right, cool, I do too, just so I can be cool with everybody. And it's like, I don't
Hmm.
care about being cool with anybody.
Right.
Like outcast me all you want, but it's like I'm gonna be having a funnel party by myself then.
Absolutely. Because if you're not cool with yourself,
Yeah.
where's the party,
Yeah, there is none.
Right. I like that. All right. Carry your story on. Let's see where else we can. Your story is bringing up some great stuff.
Okay. So after experiencing like this deep trauma, and like I think I'm still living out like that second part, like coming through developing a meditation practice and changing a lot, like seeing how I showed up for myself change. My relationship to self changed. My relationship to other people changed. The feedback that I was getting from the world changed. I was more open, more willing to laugh, more willing to take risks, uh, getting rewarded for like these changes and willingness to show up and be the new person in new rooms, and um, wanting to reach out in a new place. Like I'm a creative person. Like I do like photography and I paint and I like have all of these skills, and like connecting with people is like the number one thing, and like having the time to heal first, but then identify the things that are like non-negotiables in my life, and seeking coherency and alignment within my relationships, and starting to see the energy that I was putting out, like I would get like a feedback of
Hmm.
similar energy, and I'd started to create like a community in Portland. Um, so that process is still ongoing, and since like creating a practice, I started welcoming people into like my meditation practice on like Instagram and stuff. Like that was kind of like, as a beginner meditator a few years ago, and I still consider myself a beginner, I just would be online and just be like, yo, like I know most people don't meditate, but here, come on, come meditate with me. And that's something that I'd done consistently over the last couple of years, is just like, let me just show you that it doesn't look like this this blonde hair, blue-eyed white girl named Brittany that found yoga and then is now like getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's just
Yeah.
like there's this one mode. It's like the guru in India at the Himalayas levitating
Hmm.
with a long white beard. It's like it looks like two different things. It looks like the Eastern way or like the appropriated Western way. And I decided to like, yo, like there's not a lot of people that look like me in this space. Like not consciously, it was just more so like I've experienced like an inner freedom um
Hmm.
that I'd never experienced before, and I know a lot of people are struggling. So let me show you the way. I'm not going to do it for you, but this is a doorway to experience yourself in a way that you hadn't before.
Hmm. I love that. And I did notice that. Um, and I keep thinking, I keep telling myself, like, just do one online, and I haven't gotten around to doing that yet. But I saw you did. I was like, that's bold. I like that. I like that a lot. Why yoga? I'm sorry. Why meditation?
Ooh, uh I don't know. It was like I've done other things. I think it's because I've denied myself for so long. That was just like, yo, like you got this gift, and I don't know if it was fear or aversion to truth, but it's the thing that finally like worked, that actually worked and created a level of like trust in self that was absent and that I didn't have for a long time. Like growing up, I didn't have trust in my intuition. Like I would always look to other people to validate what I was feeling. Like I recall like going snowboarding with friends and we'd be driving home and like we're like, oh, like which way do we need to go? And I was the one person in the car that was like, oh yeah, we need to go that way, like kind of quietly. And then everyone
Mm-hmm.
overruled me in the car and we kept going straight. And then
Mm-hmm.
like 40 minutes down the road, they're like, hey guys, we're all going the wrong way. So we have to go back the way that I had initially like said,
Mm-hmm.
but not having like that real like confidence to be like, yo, we're going this way because I know what the hell I'm talking about. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would allow other people's influences to kind of override what I knew in my heart to be true. And I think connecting to that coherence is something that meditation that gave me. And that's why I continue to meditate, because it's like, oh, like the divine, the other side of this material conscious like life that we're living as we're all sims and avatars, like moving
Mm-hmm.
into the world, that other side of like spaciousness and communing with God, like that's more real to me than anything in the world. And I still get away from it, and I'm just like, when I come back, I'm just like, yo, why do I ever leave this place? Like
Yeah.
it gives me everything that I've ever wanted. But then I get seduced by the material and get caught up in things. But to know that I have this reservoir of energy, of coherence, of love, of confidence that's always here. I just need to sit and dedicate these 30 minutes every morning or evening, and just finding time and prioritizing that over everything else just falls into line. And once you
Yeah.
experience that for yourselves, because nobody can do it for you, like that's where we're actually moving. And part of my mission is to create a space where people can be beginners and learn how to construct a practice for their lifetime. Like this isn't something that you do for a season. It's like, no, like for the rest of my life, I'm going to have a consistent meditation practice. And that's like the most daunting thing in the world. It's like starting a new diet for your soul.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like trying to walk people through and doing it with them. Like that's the thing I do. I do like workshops with like businesses and like creative agencies and stuff. And like there's always like a company wide email that says, hey, we're going to do this meditation workshop with this guy Aaron in a company of 200 people, and then like 6 people show up for like the meditation,
Mm-hmm.
and then out of those 6, 2 people are really excited to get this thing going. And practice
Yeah.
comes at your own time, but it's always going to be available. And I want to kind of be like the sign guy at the corner saying like 99-cent
Meditate.
pizzas this way. And they're like,
Meditation.
damn, he's killing it on that corner. Like he's flipping that sign. I'm still gonna be there. Like I'm gonna be there, like saying
Yeah.
like, here's the way, and it's inward, and it doesn't have to be this complex thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just yeah, making it a priority.
Yeah. And I like the word practice, when you really like stop, because we hear it a lot, right? And if you really stop to really think about it, it's a practice, meaning it's something that you're getting into and doing on a routine basis. That's it. And it's not about the perfection of it, it's more about surrendering to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah,
coming into integration with yourself.
yeah, there's no goal. Like that's the thing. It's like,
Right.
what do I get? People are like, what do I get out of this thing? And if it's not quantifiable, like if it's not like I can't see it written out on the screen, like
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, it's like I've changed so much. Like I'm a different person than I was 5 years ago. But like my change is all internal. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you go to the gym and you get definition, but it's like when you meditate, you don't get like abs on your forehead, or there's no like gold star that you get to like walk around with, but it's an energy and you feel it and people feel it on you.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
What's different about you today versus 5 years ago?
More handsome.
I hear that, brother.
uh,
I hear that. And why would you be more handsome? What did you do?
I think just being more present, and I think that quality, and still it's like I still go up and down, and there's times where I'm not feeling great, but I think being on like the home team, like team me, like people
Mm-hmm.
respect that. Like people don't respect like somebody who doesn't see like their own gifts, and I don't know, just don't respect themselves to that level. Not to say like arrogance and or
Mm-hmm.
cockiness. It's just like, oh, I finally started loving myself. And I
Right.
think that's something that resonates and people want to be around. So I think once the relationship with self was healed, I think I was able to like bring in uh, the gifts that uh, the other people had waiting for me with smiles and with wanting to do things like for each other and stuff like that. But yeah, and I've been going to the gym more. So
Well, look at you working out the mind, the emotion, the body, all of it. Because that's really what it takes, right? Like you can go
yeah,
out and do all the, the ab work or, pec work that you want. And at the end of the day, it's like turning that light on inside is really the thing that gives you that glow.
yeah,
That's the handsome, I
yeah,
think that
it's
you're
like
referring to.
yeah, it's kind of like just like a full court press because now it's like, all right, this is meditation is what I do to kind of feel at peace, like,
Hmm.
all right, from this place. And then there's just all these different layers of practice, essentially, like whether
Hmm.
that's like diet and paying attention to like gut microbiome and all these different things that we have the power to like
Hmm.
turn these levers and figure out, like you were saying earlier, is just like being pescatarian and realizing that you needed to eat some meat. Like those are the things that are in our control that we can make these decisions and pull all these levers. So I think engaging with this practice in its entirety, it's starting to like expand into more of like a generalized like life wellness practice
Hmm.
where it's like, all right, I know I like waking up in the morning because it makes me feel purposeful. All right, cool,
Hmm.
5 o'clock alarm. And like I like going to the gym, using the sauna. I like
Hmm.
trying new things like new supplements and all that kind of stuff, and it all kind of compiles into creating the lifestyle that I'm meant to live,
Hmm.
as opposed to somebody selling me this dream that you can buy on clearance. I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to do this over
Right.
here. I want to
Right.
travel. I want to
Yeah.
like have deep relationships and figuring it out what it is that we actually want, and then just going towards that no matter how much the world wants to rip you out of this space. Because it's like I'm like fairly like entrepreneurial, but there's still like a part of me that's like willing to sacrifice or willing to just negotiate and become a part of another cog in the wheel. And it's
Mm.
like that part of me I'm just trying to kill. Like I just like I don't want that.
You don't want
I don't
that.
want I don't
Yeah.
want that part of me that's gonna be like, yes, sir, like, no, ma'am, like what do I have to do now? All right. And somebody else dictating what I do with my time and my energy. It's like I'm here to like serve people through example. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm not fulfilling my highest calling.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that's like, that consistent check looks really good and da 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 da. And I gotta make these decisions and stuff. But being here right now with you is proof enough to continue to stay on this path of self-realization.
Well, there's something there. I think that I wrote down you referring to it as life wellness, because that really is what it's about. It's like we write these goals about like what we're going to do and what we're going to accomplish. And those things are great. Like I love to accomplish things. It's a thing, and it's really about the how, right? How you're going to live,
Mhm.
how you're going to set yourself up for success physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually so that you can do those things or accomplish those things from a more authentic place, you know?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The authenticity part of it is like the driving force. Cause like like if you can't be yourself, then you're investing in the wrong like reservoir. It's like you're
Right.
investing in this thing that's not you at the end of the day. And it's like when you're
Right.
investing in your true self, it's like I don't know, it just doesn't get old.
Hmm. It can't. It can't.
Mm-mm.
I love the I just completely lost my thought. I'll come back to that. Where are you going to be in 5 years? So where do you want, like, five, let's say it's, what year are we at? 2022. So
Oh,
January 2027. Aaron, what where would you like to be? What do you want to be talking about?
okay. 5 years, I will be outside of the United States for sure. Um, Maybe Portugal or something.
Portugal seems to be the place. I've not
Yeah,
been there, but I know
neither have
so
I.
many people that have gone and a few people that have actually relocated there. And I hear it is amazing.
Yeah,
I got
I
to get
think.
myself there.
Yeah, I think like 5 years, like the dream is like financial freedom. Like that's a lesson for me is creating financial freedom for myself, um, and not being tied to anything. Like freedom is of the highest priority, and how do you create freedom is with a level of discipline,
Mm-hmm.
and expressing that discipline across different areas of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but as far as what I'm talking about, like I don't know, it's always been like a fluid process as new things are happening in the world, and then new solutions kind of bubble up as far as like what do we need to do? Like in this current climate, I identified that I needed to speak out more
Mm-hmm.
and voice my opinion and not be afraid, especially like I have a platform, and it's like, no, I don't need anything left to assumption.
Mm.
Like I need to say exactly what I
Say what you have
mean
to say.
and stay
Yeah.
behind it no matter what the repercussions are. So I think ascending along that trajectory and creating and being able to support communities that are interested in those types of things, as far as figuring out what each of us wants, and not everybody wants the same thing, and how do we go about doing those things, and being a resource to one another, in that space. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
very like lonely space at a lot of the times, when it's like there's groups of people that are just like working at this place, or that aren't going to be able to just like get up and go to Mexico City for a week.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's like what I envision for myself, is like, oh, I think it'd be fun to do a workshop in Guam. Let's go to Guam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Freedom from what? You talked about freedom. What would you want to, what does that mean?
I don't think it's freedom from. I think freedom from like the smaller self, freedom from like falling back into old patterns. I think it's like, in a sense, it's just healing all of the wounds and realizing like my own like true potential.
Mm.
And I think it's freedom from self-limiting beliefs,
Mhm.
freedom from societal norms. Not to say that I'm gonna like start a hippie cult or anything like that, but it's like I want my mind and body to be independent from any type of life circumstance, and I
Mhm.
think that that coincides with just like spiritual growth and being forthright with my practice, and then investing in my relationships, and having tough conversations that I a lot of the times avoid. Um, but there is no like blueprint for it. It's just like I know the things that I need to do, and it's like
Mhm.
sometimes like I'm very willing to spearhead these transformational or initiations for myself, which I've done, but then some of them are a lot harder to initiate, where I'll just kick it down the road for like, I'll get to that in 6 months. Oh, 6 months turns to 6 years. And it's
Yep.
like, yo, like, why don't I just do this thing now? Because that will grant me the freedom that I desire sooner. But why do
Mhm.
I kicking these things down? And I think that's kind of the more behavioral, psychological things that I need to, or that I'm obviously aware of, that need to have action behind the realizing part of it.
Mhm. If there was something that you could have told the guy who was sitting in the car back when you were, I don't know how old you were, um, not really speaking your truth or not standing for yourself, what would you say to him, to that Aaron?
Oh, it's not their fault.
Mm. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's probably like the lesson that still like resonates to this day. Like if I'm not treated or receiving what I feel like I'm giving, because I feel like I give a lot and I'll downplay the energy that I give.
Hmm.
Like even in just like conversations and stuff. And I've been able to, like I said before, like create boundaries and stuff, but just like they may not be able to see it. And yes, there's ways to kind of like using the marketplace and technology to allow people to create visibility, but like, can they feel and understand like my value and my worth? Sometimes that's not up to me. And I think like knowing that it's not their fault that they can't see me in the way that I know, or that's like, that's like blatantly obvious to me and the people that love me, but like some people just can't. It's just like it's
Hmm.
not their fault that they don't have the technology or optical hardware to perceive me in this way. But yeah, that's probably it.
What I love about that is I think that so often people hop into the blame game.
Hmm.
Something happens and it's like, it's their fault, it's not my fault, it's their fault, and it takes away from the ability to really see what's
Hmm.
going on, and if you can come from a place of like, okay, what's really going on here, you
Yeah.
know, it can save, first of all, it's so much more efficient
Hmm.
because when you get into that blame game and finger pointing game, then it's really just a matter of like, is it your fault? Is it my fault? Right. And that's what
Hmm.
we're fighting about. And the thing that's really going on gets lost
Hmm.
because it's not as important as, me proving to you that you're wrong and you
Yep.
trying to do the same back. So I really love that that's the thought, or that would be the approach, because after you determine that there's no faults, then you can really get to a solution.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. Like, even when in instances when it clearly is somebody else's fault, I'm going to like wear the blanket of accountability and just be like, nope,
Yeah.
it's still your fault. Like you created this situation, like whatever way I can get into taking accountability for everything that occurs in the experience.
Hmm.
That's like it becomes like second nature after it kind of feels uncomfortable at first because you're just like, no, they're obviously wrong. Like it was
Yeah.
obviously them, like they spilt the beans, like it's all over
Right.
them. And it's just like, no, it's like, no, you spilt those beans. Like, and you almost feel kind of like weird for doing that. But I think, um, I don't know. I think it allows you to create more compassion for others and
Yeah.
yourself because you realize that you're not diminished from it. Like that's the thing with like when you take responsibility, it's like it allows you to like embrace more of your humanity and
I
your
love that.
fallibility. It's like,
I
yo,
love
like
that.
I'm just as capable as they were to mess this thing up. So how about I don't judge them or myself, but I'll take this burden on.
Right. And I think the growth is in the accountability,
Hmm.
because in that you can say, like, using that as an example, if we can, it's like, yeah, they went 40 minutes out of the way and had to circle back and they didn't listen to you. And if you're taking accountability, then you can really have that conversation with yourself to say,
Hmm.
like, hey, when I know something, I got to stand for that, and it's my responsibility, or I'm going to take accountability for my part, my role as a
Hmm.
passenger in this car. And I'm going to speak up for what I know to be the truth, because
Hmm.
that's where there's something to grow from. There's no
Yeah.
growth, there's no progress in, you know, getting out of that car and saying, oh, it's their fault. they didn't listen to
Yeah.
me, and they could have saved me 80 minutes, you know?
Yeah. And I think, sorry to like, this is like really like juicy, but it's like in that just projecting in that moment in the past though, but then it's like, as the driver of the car or the people who didn't listen, they're so used to being kind of like ridiculed afterwards. But then
Mm-hmm.
if there's no response, and it's like there's just silence and acceptance, and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, like he's not mad, and they were like waiting to
Yeah.
get punished, which is why like they make those types of decisions in the first place, and they're just sitting there
Right.
like, oh, he's not mad, okay, like I can relax, and we like nothing happened. And it's
Right.
like, why are we going to be hung up on things that don't matter? And I
Right.
think that creates more trust and openness between people. But yeah, that's very, yeah, humans are crazy. It's like
Humans,
like
we are.
how do like we just like unlocked a lot of like really like program like stuff, like
That's what it
compassionate.
is.
Yeah, it's
And
wild.
giving people space to hear their own bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been, there have been times in my life where I have been totally so kind of caught up in the moment of something that I can like hop all over it. And then when you do that, you literally cloak that person in your emotional response versus giving that person the opportunity to actually feel into that empty space,
Mm-hmm.
where you can sit and say, wow, let me check me out in this. And that person can say, wow, let me check myself out. Like, what do I need to do differently? So
Mm-hmm.
allowing yourself the opportunity to have those conversations with yourself and to grow, and also allowing other people to do the same, giving that to them also.
Yeah. Preach.
We're preaching together. We're coming down to the end of our time, and I could talk to you for hours. We probably could come back and pick another topic and do this again at some point. Um, what do you want? What do you want the moms of Black sons to know?
Ooh. Oh, wow. That we love you even though we don't tell you.
That's a good
Like
one.
it's like ingrained, and we're so like we are you. Like we
Mm-hmm.
are a part of you. Like
Mm-hmm.
the same things that you're feeling, the relationships that you've had with your parents and stuff like that feeling, like we have that in us too. Like we feel
Mm-hmm.
that same exact way, like
Mm-hmm.
that depth, like it's all there, and you are a part of us. So I think when uh when you all Black mothers like feel certain things, just know that like we do too.
Thank you for that. I'll receive that as a Black mother. What do you want Black men like yourself? What do you have to say to Black men like yourself, the other kings in the
Ooh.
kingdom? What do you have to say to them?
uh Turn up. No, I'm playing.
Turn up for real. Shit. Turn up. Fix your crown, damn it.
Yeah, no, for real. I think it goes back to just like the accountability thing. It's like, yeah, we can blame white people for everything. And there's like, even in my life, I'm just like, yo, like I should be like the biggest like meditation like dude in the world, and I should be like on complex news, like Aaron Robinson, meditation expert, holds a retreat in Hawaii every da da da, like, and like whatever. But it's
You
like,
can be.
yeah,
Okay.
I
Mhm.
will. Like it's all good. It's going to happen, but it's like there's so many like scapegoats, and it's all true. Like the
Mhm.
scapegoats, like it's all true. Like the
Yeah.
history, like we all know, like, and I'm like learning more about like just like Black history, like every day with social media, like new memes come up, and I'm just like, they did what? They did what?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Like
Again
it gets it
today.
gets it
Yeah.
gets crazy, and just like and there's there's a reason to be mad. And it's like, there's a reason to be hurt. There's a reason to be angry. There's a reason to inflict violence, and
Mhm.
to take the accountability and realize it's like, okay, like if I do that, like it's only going to hurt me more. It's only going to hurt like the people I love more. Okay. That's not like, that's not how we're going to move. But to address this pain that we do have in the ways that we know how to, and realize that's our responsibility, is addressing our own pain,
Mhm.
whether that is going to therapy, whether that is taking frustrations out at the gym, starting your daily meditation practice and really connect with our true selves, and not looking at football players and rappers as like the leaders of our society, which is BS. Like
Right.
some rappers are doing great things for Grant, yeah, but it's like, yo, it's like you gotta really connect to yourself, and let
Mhm.
that be like the baseline for everything else to build on top of, is like that deep, deep love and connection for ourselves. And then relationships to everybody else and community and society will happen. But it's wake up in the morning and spend 10 minutes of meditation, and then you can uh, bless the world with your presence.
Absolutely. Okay, not to leave anyone out, what do you have to say to the sisters out there about the relationships between men and women?
I mean, y'all could teach me. Yeah, I
Something,
think
just whatever. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's just like expressing like your full selves, like without like placing expectations on men.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of expectations, some of them justified, but I think, yeah, I think allowing yourselves to be silly and fun, if you're fun, and
Mhm.
not looking like at each person as like a job interview, like
Mm.
type of thing. Like, how is he gonna do this? It's like he'll tell you, like
Mhm.
he'll tell you with his actions, and not condemning an entire group of people off of one experience. It's like
Mhm.
there's a lot of depth and dimension to all of us, and I think it's recognizing that, for everybody.
Mhm. I
Did I
love
answer
that.
did I answer the question, or did I skirt
You are
around it?
preaching today, Aaron.
Okay,
I heard the message. The
okay.
sermon came through.
Because I could speak in generalities where I'm just like, I don't want to speak directly to it, but I could
No, I think,
one paint stroke and hit it all.
do you like the answer? Is there something you want to add to the answer or
uh I'll keep that to myself.
okay, fair enough. Thank you so much. I've loved this conversation. I really appreciate this conversation. And what I really appreciate is seeing a Black man out there showing people that there is such power in self compassion and in giving yourself a moment and in connecting to nature and connecting to God and connecting to yourself. And that is one of the primary ways for people to really strengthen themselves and the impact that they have on this planet. And so thank you so much for your contribution to that. Um, I went onto your Instagram and I took a look and I like instantly, the energy of it is like really straight, direct. And I love the fact that you're on there as yourself, and like you said, it's not always like being, the long white beard and, with an incense and all of that. You're a human being having an experience, and meditation and consciousness looks a lot of different ways. And so thank you for showing up, for the folks that are following you and that appreciate you, in the way that you do, because you're teaching and you're preaching. Yeah,
Thank you. No, thank
you're
you so much for
welcome.
having me. This is amazing. Like these are the conversations that are like replenishing, because it's like we go through like life and it's like how rare is it for us to really like connect like this. It's like we've had
Yeah,
one, this is our second conversation ever. Like we talked for like 15 minutes and then it's just
yeah,
like the ability and trust that we have in one another already from the jump. I'm just
right.
extremely grateful for it, because this is like right here is like what I live for and what I'm here for. And thank you for providing an opportunity for me to share my story and speak with your audience. And yeah, I look forward to speaking with you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Where can people find you?
People can find me on Instagram at Aaron Robinson. That is AARONROBINSON. And then my website is www.openingpresence.com. Presence with a C.
Hmm.
Opening Presence. I also have a podcast called Opening Presence with Aaron Robinson that is on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of those other ones that you may listen to. But yeah, it's a really cool soul expression where I talk to artists, entrepreneurs about this journey that we all have, and kind of shedding light on how everybody's journey is different, and that there's no rule book for how you do any one thing. It's you figuring it out with the resources that we all have. And most of the time, the people that are in our inner circle have a lot of wisdom that we can tap into if we just kind of set them up to express themselves and feel safe with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So that was good conversation, wasn't it? I have to say, I walked away from that conversation filled with warmth and with true understanding for the rest of the day. I was so moved and so touched and so, the topic resonated with me so personally because, as I mentioned in during the interview, I have a son and I am the mother of a man of color, and there are certain nuances to it, in the ways that we as mothers everywhere, and of Black mothers in particular, there are nuances to the ways that we raise our sons and the things that we filter through our experience of raising and mothering our sons. So I hope that you got something out of that conversation. I certainly did. I know that Aaron did. And I'm so glad that you had the opportunity to participate in that conversation. If you want to do some work on the relationships that are happening in your life, sign up for the Shape Your Foundation program. It's led personally by me. There are both virtual and in-person options, in person in San Diego. And we take a deep dive into the ways that we're programmed, into the things that we are filtering through our experiences, and into what you can do to remove the things that stand in the way of you having the familial legacy and the familial relationships that you truly want to have. So if you're interested in doing that work, I'd love to lead you. The information is in the comments below.